Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday again already, Doug. My gosh,
Amazing.
where? I know.
Amazing.
Like, wow. How are you doing, Doug?
Oh, fantastic. The snow's all cleared up here and the water is open. There's no ice on the river. So, got to pick up the boat actually this weekend, maybe catch a fish the weekend after that.
That'd be
A
awesome.
fish in season, by the way. I would never take a fish out of season.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, we know. You're a good guy. Well, I sent you a picture of what was in my front yard last night. This
Oh,
huge,
beautiful.
huge, she was huge, deer.
Amazing.
Park across the street and close to the fence here, at the park. So I got a really good picture from my bedroom window.
Wow.
She was beautiful. Oh my goodness. Big
Uh,
muley. Hmm.
well, I encourage everybody to get out. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Get outside and get get talking to other people just for a minute ago. You walking around the block, like just let's start this summer. Let's get out there and
right
and
on.
and 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 be involved in the community, and you'll start to feel a little bit better because there's a lot of people out there, that are shut in right now, and they still not sure whether they should come out or how they should come out. But it's okay. Get outside, go for a walk, talk to people. You'll start to feel better.
Absolutely. So welcome to the press box. I'm not sure how many episodes we've done. It doesn't really matter. What only thing that matters is our episode today. And we're streaming live right now on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and just search Lori Davis show host, we're there right now. And also on our Facebook page, Self Worth the Missing Link Superstars. We've got two of them here with us today, three of us here. Um, Self Worth the Missing Link Superstars Facebook page. And you can go in there. And the only thing we ask is that you share the show because we have a really special guest today. And I'm going to ask Doug to introduce him in a few minutes. But there may be just one thing that we say today or our guest shares that may be the very thing you need to hear today or a friend needs to hear. So just be generous and share the show. It doesn't cost anything to do that. And I always tell my team, if you're going to click like, does it take more effort to click share?
That's
People
right.
go like, well, how about share? It's the same action, same
Absolutely.
energy, right? That always amazes me. If you like it, great, but share it. Just like Doug just said. Doug, let's talk about that because there are still some people who think COVID is out there and who haven't actually come out since COVID. They're still locked up.
Yeah, it's a fascinating subject, and I think everybody should take an interest in it because it's affecting somebody in our family, right? And if you take a look at the data associated with 9/11, for example, and the small microcosm of New York going through that mental turmoil and that trauma, the data is pretty clear on when we reached the peak. And we really haven't reached the peak yet. The peak, according to the aftermath of 9/11, will happen sometime next winter, getting into the spring next year. So there's going to be a huge migration from indoors to outdoors, from indoors back into society, like a massive migration. And those people, like, the studies are clear. It shows that during a trauma, your amygdala shrinks. So that actually, if you do some research on the amygdala in your brain, you'll see what that drives and the impact it has. Do your
Mhm.
own research on it. It's important for you and the rest of your family.
Right. And what about those million people that flocked into Niagara Falls to watch the eclipse? Wow, I have a friend who lives in Grimsby, one of our colleagues, and she said their Wi-Fi went off. They had lots of strange things happen, but a million people and the highway that was by her place, she said it was blocked from 6 p.m. till 3 a.m. for the traffic to clear.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. Isn't that something?
I was lucky. I was lucky to. I didn't get any glasses, but then when I went into my daughter's store, the one of the gentlemen that was working there had a pair of glasses, so I took a quick peek to see it, and it's amazing what the human race does to just see something like that. How we like congregate together, how we move together. It's almost a subconscious type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. for sure. Well,
Phenomenal.
we have a very special guest today, and I'm going to ask you to just share a little bit of information about John so that when he comes in, we don't have to spend any time doing that because we want the full half hour with him, just sharing what he's up to these days. So, would you like to? How do you know this guy anyway? And what do you know? And why do we want to have him on the show? That it
Yeah,
might be
well,
nice for him to know why we want him on the show.
John is the founder and executive director of firstassist.ca. So if you just go to firstassist.ca, you're going to see Johnny Chabot, some of the smoothest hands that the NHL has ever seen. Montreal Canadiens, he got drafted by. This, like when I was drafted by the LA Kings, Johnny went to the Montreal Canadiens and had a stellar career. I think we played the same number of years, and we've had so much in common. But the funny thing is, we never played against each other growing up. But he lived right across the river from me,
Oh,
and so he played in the Quebec Junior Hockey League where I played in the Ontario Junior Hockey League, but there was such a division in those two areas. We never got a chance to play against each other till the NHL. But Johnny's doing some incredible work since his NHL career. He's got a new passion that he'll talk about more about than his NHL career, because he's going to make a bigger difference after he played in the NHL than he ever did while he was playing in the NHL. So I'm really happy that he was able to come and join us today from Inuktitut, or I think where is he calling in from today? We'll get him to tell us.
yes, that's right. That's right. Excellent. So that the Montreal Canadiens, I want to make I probably saw him then. Well, no, I would be too old then. But when I was a little girl, my dad worked for a steel company and they had a box at the Montreal Forum. And every Thursday night, that was our date night, my dad and I. And I watched professional hockey growing up every Thursday night. The odd Thursday, I'd have to stay home because he'd take my mom. But
Hmm.
my mom and dad, big sports fans. Even now, my mom watches every hockey game, every ball game. They were sports enthusiasts. And so I grew up with professional hockey that way. And that's, of course, back in the day when you could name all the players and you could name all the teams. And the Montreal Canadiens was my dad's team. He had their jerseys, he had their hats, he had everything to do with that. Because, part of my life, we're from Nova Scotia, but when I was about 6, our family moved to Quebec. And
Ah,
we lived in Quebec all probably another 6 or 7 years. So um,
and the
from
conditioning
yeah,
began.
and the conditioning began. And when we were living in Quebec, all right, my dad insisted that we watch the Don Messers Jubilee because that was from the East Coast, PEI in Nova Scotia, Don Messers Jubilee. That was a must. We were bored to death, but we had to watch it. And hockey night on Saturday night.
That's
And
nice.
it was like a family thing. So
It would
yeah.
have been hard. It would have been hard to watch any hockey for any length of time during your period without seeing Johnny. It would have been 1981, right? The
Oh
1981,
yes.
82 draft.
Yeah.
And so you would have seen him out there on the ice. So
Right.
it's very cool. For whenever we cross paths, and we do from time to time, it's always wonderful because we get each other caught up. So that's what I'm hoping to do today, is just get caught up on what he's been doing. He's traveling all over the
Yes.
place, making a difference.
Yeah. I'm really excited to meet him in person. This is very nice. And thank you, Doug, for inviting him and putting him on our invite list. Next week, we have another very interesting guy coming on, Paul Harrison. And Paul lives in London, and he has an amazing career path as a coach, both in football and soccer. And so that'll be a fun interview as well. And we have last week we had Jay Stoyan, our daddy of us all here. We wouldn't even be here without him. He's the founder of the Disability Channel. And of course, that's our mother network that we're working with. So, yeah, very cool.
It's amazing what the Disability Channel is doing in its retraining of people with disabilities, and retraining of people from the forces as well. So the work that they're doing through the Ontario government is absolutely phenomenal. So hats off to Jay Stoyan and the work with the Disability Channel, because that's just going to grow. You look at the demographics, it's just going to grow exponentially. So,
Oh yeah, for sure.
get behind it, participate in it. It's important. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to run your questions through us, and
Yeah.
we'll make sure they get to the right person to get the answer.
Yeah, for sure. So I've just put their website up there. So if anybody wants to check them out, that is amazing. So coming up, we're going to do a little 30-second break and then bring John in because I'm really anxious to talk with him. And this little 30-second break is just an opportunity for us to show you that there are spots available on our show for advertising, for sponsorships, donations, whatever it is. If you have a product, program, or service that you would like to put out there, because this show goes to many, many different places and spaces. And so please contact me. I just call the doc. And I will set you up so that you can have that space on our show for a 30-second promo. And of course, I'm going to create one, Doug, about our caps. I'm going to have a promo available next week for our beautiful caps. Oh my gosh. And we're going to use Doug's first idea. But a native friend of mine, former Chief Leonard, standing on the road, I'm allowed to use his name, of course. He and I have been in business for 15 years. He and I just started, we bought a septic truck and to provide a service in his community. So because he wanted to start that business so that people in his community could have sanitary removal of their waste out of their septic tanks. That was our first project together. And so we've gone from that to all of our workshops and all that. And then he became chief. He ran 2 terms and won, and then he was appointed Grand Chief of Treaty 6 region. And so now he's retired from that and he's full on in business with us. So he phoned me a few months back and he said, Laura, I need to use, we need a corporation because I want to import something. I had no idea. He's very entrepreneurial. And I said, what, import what? He said, ball caps. I said, ball caps? What would we do with ball caps? Oh, he said, they're not just any ball cap. They're made out of cork and they come from Portugal and they're water resistant and they're heat resistant and they're soft and they're beautiful. And I just see us using them to promote what we do. Well, I didn't realize all the paperwork that was required to become a customs broker. But anyway, our company is now officially a customs broker and we can bring stuff in from anywhere. So there were a lot of benefits from getting involved. So the other day, 1,000 caps landed in my front porch. And Chief said, okay, I did the first leg of this. Now this is your job. The next leg is to get those caps out so we can order more. I said, okay, because that's how he and I work. And it's all based on trust. There's no contracts. It's all on a handshake. And I love working like that. And so I said, okay, so this is how many we have to sell to get your investment back. And then after that, it's profit or giveaways or whatever we want to do. So we'll do a 30-second ad. I just did a 2-minute, 3-minute ad. And Doug, you're laughing. Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because of how the whole thing transpired, how the hats, how you ended up with that many hats, but how it's going to turn out to be like the most positive story.
Yeah. So, I suppose we could write a book, From Septic Tanks to Ball Caps or something. It could be something like that. We started out with a septic truck. All right. Okay. Well, let's go do our little 30-second deal, and then we'll bring John in, and we're good to go. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Dr. Laurie Davis, and you're viewing The Press Box with my host, Doug Smith, and our very special guest, John, I need the correct pronunciation of your last name because so far I have spelled it 3 times the wrong way.
It's Chabot,
Chabot.
Chabot, as in Cabot Trail with an H.
Got it. I love that being from Nova Scotia.
Well, I'm
Perfect.
PEI. My dad was in the forces, so I lived in
Oh,
Halifax, so I'm a honorary maritimer. So
awesome. Okay. Well, good morning and welcome to the show. And thank you, Doug, for inviting John to the show. And you have an amazing story. So I would like to ask the question just for you to share right now. I like to start with where we are now and then go back rather than go to the back and then move forward. So why don't we share with our viewers exactly what it is you're up to right now? And where are you right now?
I'm calling you from Tuktoyaktuk, NWT. It's about as far north. I'm a driver wedge away from the Arctic Ocean. My daughter was up with me last week. We posted it on Instagram. There's a big sign that says you literally stand at a sign and 20 feet behind you is the Arctic Ocean. So I'm about as far north without having to fly that you can get. You can actually drive to Tuktoyaktuk now. They put a road in
Yes.
6 years ago that I've had the opportunity to drive a number of times over the last couple of years. But First Assist is doing programming here. We do an education sport program that uses hockey, sports in general, hockey in particular right now, to get kids back to school and get them an education and get them an opportunity to move forward with whatever life they choose and to make an informed decision on what they want to do and not being told what they have to do. So it's been something, travel the north for me since I've retired has been something I love to do. It's a completely different part of the country that not many people get to see. Being in Tuck is one. Chesterfield Inlet, where we're in also, and we're going to Clocktock and Nunavut. We had a program in Teslin, just south of Whitehorse. So it's been a really fun journey, and Tuck is a great place. And I look forward. This is our last trip of the year. Next year we'll have a full-time instructor here with less trips on myself. I'm just kind of introducing the program to the community, but I've been coming to Tuck now for my son and I. Oh gosh, since the early to mid 2000s. So it's been a long time.
Oh, wow.
Tell us what you do when you move in. Like when you
Yeah.
go into a place, tell us what you do. So you arrive one day and you want to turn things around, right? I mean, that's
Exactly. We go to this. We start with we go to the ice. We'll go to the ice first, then we'll go to the schools, and then we'll meet with chief and council or mayor and council, depending on their designation. We'll talk about the program. We'll continue to visit. We'll continue to go to the schools. We'll talk to the kids about you know, the journey that hockey took me on, the journey that hockey took my son on. We'll bring people up to speak to the kids about different journeys and where the sport can take you, and not necessarily the sport itself, but how the sport can open doors to where you want to go. And education is one of them. So, we get in here, like I started coming here full time just over a year ago now. And we've been in here every month for 10 to 15 days. And we're just kind of introducing ourselves to the community. It's been a great response. We've had, it's funny story that the ice is melting. Global warming has hit here relatively hard. The season has gotten ice. Like I said, I've been here coming here since probably 2006-ish. And the hockey season, she would start back then in October and run until like late April, early May. And now we didn't get the ice in until the mid-December, and it's over. The ice is now, so it's really affecting the north. But in saying that, it's still the good thing about the year-round road is that you can continue to get here or for that full time. But some communities aren't as lucky. You look at Klavik, which is the sister town, and their ice road opened late. It's still open now, but they're not sure now with the warming of the weather how long that road's going to be open. So that those roads are a lifeline. It makes life a lot easier, a lot cheaper. But it's just the way things are working. We don't know how much longer, if at all, into the future the ices are gonna freeze. Because even now the bay doesn't freeze over anymore here in Tuck. We used to be able to go miles out. And my first year we were out 40, 50 miles out into the bay. Polar bear and I don't even think the ice even freezes anymore completely. So it's a different up here now.
That's unbelievable to be able to see that and touch it.
Yeah, it really is. And the positive and negative. I mean, they're adapt. They've been used to this. I mean, I've been coming to the north since 2003, and the changes I have seen and the conversations I've had with elders, they've known this for 30 years that this was coming, because it's been coming and they've prepared. Their
Okay.
migratory routes have changed. Their habits have had to change. So it's been a process that we are adapting to in the south, that they've really adapted to and are adapting to in the north at a much quicker rate.
Now, how do you get the kids to adapt better to schooling? How do you leverage the relationship between sports and education? Can you explain a little bit of that?
Yeah, we use it. We use the sport as a tool. We create a program that's fun. Like, so for the first, like for this year, I went to the school every day, but I just went to the school to see if the kids were there. And so we made the program. It's a lot of skill development. It's a fun. We play games. We have trips. Like, for instance, on Sunday,
Wow.
the kids in Inuvik had their jamboree, which is like a winter festival, and it goes in increments. Every community at the end has one. Tuck is going to have theirs in 2 weeks. Next week is a Klavik, I think. No, it's Sikachik, and this past week was Inuvik, and so a bunch of the kids end up going up on Saturday after our ice session at noon. So we went from noon to 2, and the families took off, but we had like 8 kids that couldn't go, so I rented a couple vehicles. So instead of going on the ice, we trucked up to Inuvik for the day and did some snowmobile race watching, some snowshoe races for the men and women. We had kids races. We had dog sled races. There was cookouts. So we spent the day there instead. We went to the pool. The kids went swimming. We came back at night and then went on the ice the next day. And the ice is almost to the point now where it's unusable. So I'm just here now. So I'll just go to the school, make the program fun. And next year, we'll make it a priority that to be a part of our program. We'll still have the hockey program that's not first assist. So twice a week we'll have first assist. Twice a week we'll have hockey. But the kids that aren't involved in first assist, which means you have to go to school, won't be coming on the ice. And then on top of that, we'll take the kids once a month to Inuvik, or we'll have some fun events coming.
Good
So we'll
idea.
expect kids to get back to school through not just the ice, but also the special programs that we have. And that'll go on for a year once we get more of the kids back. And then the following year, the next level, you have to start attending the school on time. And then after that, you'll have to start passing your classes. And so it'll all just rolling to the point where going to school and getting there on time will be a normal occurrence. And now passing will be application to their grades, and listening to their teachers will be the next step. So that in 3 years from now, the program will be running full tilt. We'll have a full-time instructor in town living here, from whatever the community wants, because the program is a community-based in consultation what the community wants. So we don't come here as many programs do and say, this is our program, one size fits all. We go on with the understand there's going to be adaptation to every community to what they need. And some more sports, some it's less, some it's more school, some it's less. But with the whole idea that in 5 or 6 years, we give the program to the community and then we move on to the next place, come back and consult if they need it. But we don't want to be in here for years. That's not the point of the program. The point of the program is to create role models and leaders out of these kids themselves. So when they do graduate through at 18, that if they want to go to university in the South, yes. If they want to go work out of community, yes. But if they want to stay in community, well, we can offer them a job. And if the job is in hockey, and that's, as I was talking before, Doug, when we talk about hockey, we talk about everybody's journey and how your journey through NHL, Europe to where you are today is different than my journey was, which included Europe, but I'm off doing something else. And some kids never even get to play pro, but they use that hockey as a destination, as an ability to open a door to an education, which education takes in a completely different direction. So this is a kind of what we try to offer as we move forward with the program, that maybe they won't be playing hockey, but yeah, they'll still be working in hockey as a teacher, as a facilitator, working at the arena, maybe working in another community, getting into travel. And so it's a we try and touch as many bases as we can to fulfill as many dreams and needs to the community.
Beautiful. I have a question, business side of me coming out now.
Okay.
Now, how do you get funded, or who pays for it, or is it a combination of all of the above?
It's a combination right now. Eventually, we want to get Laura, Dr. Laura, you've been in the communities, Laura, sorry, and you understand that you never want to give anything for free. In
No,
communities, even more so, because as my dad said before he passed, which bothered him till he passed, was that we had become a welfare society within our own country. And so what
right,
that we've tried to do is make sure that there's a community buy-in, not only manpower, but also monetarily. So it makes it more tangible to them. So we want to get to a 80 first assist, 20% buy-in from the community. So say in Tuck, the program will cost $95,000 a year, including flights, lodging, food, honorarium pay for the instructors. So we would pay 80% of that, and the community would pay 20. Right now we're at a 50-50. We get money from the Ottawa Senators. They've been unbelievably supportive. They've given us, upwards of $150,000 right now over the years. And we use that money to go to Rapid Lake First Nation, which is 3-hour drive north of Ottawa, to go to Elsipogtog First Nation, Manitoba, which is an hour and a half north of Manitoba, north of Moncton, to come here, to go to Chester, to go to Teslin, which we've had full-time programming in. So we've applied. We're a very small charity. We're all volunteer. Nobody gets paid to do this. If you do work like I do, you get paid the work you're doing, but you don't get a salary for just organizing, which I do on my own. So like I'll organize everybody's flights. I'll organize everybody's, visit to communities. We've got Andrew Ansanen, who works for us when he's not doing the show Shoresy. He's a Dene from Lac Brochet, Manitoba. He has been to 6 or 7 communities. So I organize all his
Wow.
travel, his hotels, and that's just what you do as a small charity. You just kind of make it work. And so all the money that we do receive goes right to the community, whether it be through workers that we have there to help offset the cost to the community, to help supply equipment to the community, all kinds of different things. But so we are a full-fledged Canada registered charity that accepts donations, that gives you tax receipts if that's what you need to donate, which is great. We've had, PLC give us a bit of money. We just had our first donation to a course through AFN that has given us $150,000 just 2 weeks ago. It's the first time we've ever gone for that amount of money. So that's going to help us in the Future Generations Fund is what it's called. And it's Reconciliation Residential School Resulted Foundation that we've applied to, because we are dealing with, second, third generational residential school issues in a lot of these communities that we go to. The guy that gets us in here, Jackie Jacobson, him and his wife met at residential school, and they have a residual from that, and they understand the importance of us being in the community to give this programming and this support to kids that in other places and other times wouldn't have that safe place of coming to the arena to be able to participate in a program that's no bullying, that you can be who you want to be, whatever you choose to be, you can be at the arena. And there's other areas in Tuck that have afforded that, but this is one of the reasons we do what we do, is to create a safe place for communities. I've got stories that would blow your mind of
oh yeah, I
issues in
believe it.
the
I
community
believe it.
in Fort Good
John,
Hope,
oh,
so it's cool.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No worries at all.
Um,
I drone on a lot when I talk about this.
That's okay. That's because
Very
you guys
articulate.
didn't have a chance to talk when you were on the ice, okay? And you're making up for last time. Doug does the same thing.
Because I talk
That's my perception. But you know what, John? This is really amazing. You know why?
It is.
I was in Elsipogtog in 1998 to 2001. I worked in the community for 2.5 years.
Wow.
And I took my empowerment workshops there, and I piloted my youth program there. I have 40 workshops for youth.
Cool.
And when I got into the community, I was going up once a week. I lived in Brookfield, Nova Scotia, 5-hour drive. I would go up 3 days a week on the reservation. I did a radio show out of there. I was there for 2.5 years.
Wow.
And then back in those days, that was all funded by the Aboriginal Healing Foundation, which of course doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, that's where so those kids that were in that, I did the pilot, 72 kids showed up.
Wow.
I had to hire 14 women in the community to help me manage them.
That's awesome.
And then those kids are now in their 30s. And they're the ones, I mean, when I was there in 1998, you couldn't even buy a cup of coffee there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not the way it is now.
Oh, no.
Right?
They've got a
So,
little there now. They've got
oh, yeah.
artists that are worldwide, that are especially countrywide known, that sell online, and
Yeah.
they've done a nice job.
I have some very good friends there.
Nice. And
That's
they just
cool.
daughter, who's a lawyer, is their lawyer.
Oh, cool.
Got a huge land claim settlement that's going to be ratified in the coming short period of time here, that they've been planning on, how they're going to invest and what they're going to invest, education being one, their youth being another. It's going to be a game changer for that community and that whole region. I think it's going to be the largest settlement in the history of negotiated settlements in Canada.
Wow. Cool. I better give them a call.
Well, I knew there'd be common ground.
Yeah. Spock is there now, and he's doing a fantastic job. And my daughter's partner is out of there. They have a house there now. And, an ex-NHLer, you would know him too, Dougie, Everett Santapass.
Yes.
I know Everett.
Out of Big Cove, which is now LC Pucktuck, and he's on.
Yes.
And so I've had an opportunity. I went back there when I was playing in the NHL. I was a part of the NADAB, which is the National Native Alcohol and Drug Abuse Program. And in my summers, I would travel to communities across the country to talk to kids on, issues. And LC, which was Big Cove back then, was one of the places I visited and met with Everett, not for the first time, because I met Everett when he was a 16-year-old, moved to Montreal to play hockey with the junior Canadians, and I was playing with the Habs at the time. So we got to renew friendships. And then we've lost touch, and now we've renewed our friendship all over again because of our Indigenous alumni team that I put together, plus the fact he sits on council. So it's been a nice full circle moment for Everett and I.
How many guys you got? How many guys you got on the team now?
We've got about 30.
Really? That's amazing.
We picked 7 to 8 to 9 to 10, depending what the community wants. And
we
came back from Yukon. We had 9 of us go up there last month. We're going to go back and we're going to do another tour through Alberta. So we have, the Brian Trottiers, the Reggie Leaches, all the way up to the Aaron Ashams, the Cody McCormicks that have just retired recently. We've got, a Dwight King who just retired with two rings from the Kings, who travels with us at times. So we can pick names out of a hat and just call people, get a team. And, it's awesome. We go there, we go to the school, we talk to the kids. Everybody tells their story in a nutshell. We have 2 or 3 guys that give more in-depth part of their story. We have the Shoresy guys that talk about, like Jonathan Diaby, who was from Africa, who's now was drafted in the 3rd round. He tells a story about morphing from almost an NHL player and realizing that's not what his life wanted. He wanted his life to be. He's a hip hop artist, and it's just these kids can understand, that they're not alone.
Yes.
That so many different races of people that are going through exactly what they're going through, and that they have support through this. We try and offer support for these kids emotionally as they leave calls and reach out. And Jonathan's story was absolutely fantastic. And Rick Natras, who was raised by a single mom in Brantford and took the bus to the rink by himself at the age of 9 and 10 years old. These kids identify with that, and these are the stories we try.
Absolutely,
an Indigenous issue that you can identify with and they're going to offer support to help you move forward. It's really cool.
Awesome.
And it's all about self-worth. I mean, when you boil everything down, and all the years I've been doing this and trying to help people that are in trouble, it all ends up boiling down to self-worth, right? And feeling like you're loved and people care about who you want to be, right? So it's a simple formula, and you figured that out. That's fantastic.
As you know, Doug and Dr. Laurie, that it's all about experience too. You as a young person, and I just interviewed a young kid yesterday for the Hockey Night in Canada and Cree. He's a 16-year-old out of Whitehorse, is a Trondick, and he's going to receive our award for the Brian Trottier Most Valuable Indigenous Hockey Player of the Year award. Now, we've given it to NHL players, we've given it to women's Olympic team members. And he's our 3rd year, and he's a major junior player, but he's 16. He'll probably a top 3 pick in the NHL coming up. And it's interesting that the experience he wants to give back to his community, you can hear that in his conversation, how much he wants to do it, but he doesn't quite know how to navigate the waters. And that's what, what elders in our communities are for, is to help you navigate those waters. And this is where I see myself, and I'm sure, Doug, you see yourself now.
Oh, I wish I would have had you, man. I wish I would have had you when I was 18. Shit.
And that,
yes.
we talk about that now, that we wanted to do that when we were younger, but it's sometimes you go in different directions to get to the experience that you have today. And this is kind of what First Assist has morphed into, conversation with my dad and elders in Delaney, in Delaney NBUT and in Quacktack and too. So I go to the communities, I talk to elders, I get their stories, and I try to, how can we make this program fit in the situation that these people are in through the elders' eyes, and where they see the community going from now to where they were to where it is in the future. And I try and tie this all together. So it's always, the charity is always in movement, because we never know what the communities want and what their issues are. And the experience that I've had through this and conversations helps navigate to where we want to go and where we want to be.
It's a combination lock, right? I mean, every situation you're coming across is almost like a combination lock that you have to be super patient with. Like, you spend so much time on the front end, right? I mean, that's what I'm hearing. And that's where it's important to spend the time, where society is more the opposite of that, right? Like, let's get it going, and then we'll think about the plan after, right? It's good. That's amazing.
Yeah, we're very grassroots. I mean,
same here. Same here.
Yeah, my son and I traveled forever, and we were doing these hockey camps, and we were never, it was a foot in the door. And at one point in time, we would listen to people, and we just said, and in fact, my son is the one who said, Dad, we gotta make this more than what it is. These hockey schools are great, and they are great, but we're almost like, and I'm not being rude here by saying this, we're almost like a white group that just goes in and leaves. And this is the trauma this has caused, because, and the history of Indigenous people with non-Indigenous has been one of trust that's been broken. And we don't want to be included in that. We want to create that trust where these kids know we're coming back, and whether it be twice a year, then it's going to be 4 times a year, and then it's going to be full time. And that conversation we had, and I go back again to Fort Good Hope, where we came back the second time, and the kids couldn't believe that we'd come back. They said,
I know.
And, and we did. And it opened up the door. As an Indigenous guy, the trust was always there a little bit more than what a non-Indigenous person would feel coming into a community. But it can be broken, because there's Indigenous people that see an opportunity just like non-Indigenous, and they milk the system for it. We never wanted to be that. We wanted to be that system that they could depend on, and those people that we could depend on. And through the small conversation we had flying home from wherever we were flying home from, created First Assist Initiative, which started in 2012 and morphed into First Assist Charity, which started in 2021. So, we're an ongoing, process to better ourselves and to help better a community in a direction they want to go in.
How's the new ownership of the Sens been? You happy?
The foundation has been outstanding. The foundation and the alumni has been great. The alumni, every golf tournament, they've given us $25,000 from their proceeds to help. They've been up in Rapid Lake with Laurie Boschman and Aaron Robinson, who was with the Sens, came up, and they saw the need and jumped in, feet first, say, okay, we can help here. And they've been outstanding in helping us move forward. The new ownership, they've created an Indigenous advisory group that's going to help them move forward. They're still trying to figure out what works best, but the foundation they see that connection that they have with us. They gave us $50,000 this year just out of the blue, because they value the relationship, and we very much value what they've given us. Equipment, money. We get tickets for kids that come. The Indigenous night includes, our input. We have dancers, we have drummers, we have food being served, we have the Algonquin being sung in Algonquin. And these are just first steps. We want to continue to why is it just once a year? And they're very open to that conversation of having it happen more often. So, this is an interesting relationship that's going to be figured out with new ownership here over the next couple of years.
Oh, that's excellent. That's
Yeah.
excellent. You can see the light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. John, we're going to re-invite you too on another segment, because not the press, but we'll have you back here for sure. But I've been broadcasting also for 25 years. Actually did the first bilingual Mi'kmaq English radio show in Elsipogtog with Foster Augustine, who owns the radio station there. And he and I did a talk show. I knocked on his door and I said, how would you like to have a professional talk show? This was like 1998. So he said, oh no, we do bingo and we do music. And we do music and we do bingo. And I said, yeah, I know, that's good. So we did a show and he said, nobody's going to come. You're not going to get one person come on here and talk to you. I said, that's okay. We'll just do it because, so I had my producer from Halifax. He came up and he set me all up. He duct taped wires to the bedroom wall and we had a red speaker phone that we took the calls. 3 months, we broadcast for 3 months. And then finally Foster said, oh no, Lori, not a good plan. Nobody's doing it. I said, you just wait. And then there was a big blow up in Burnt Church over the lobster fishing licensing and whatever. And the fisheries people were there burning wharves and boats and whatever. And so I get on the air and I say, oh my gosh, is there anybody from the community up at Burnt Church right now who could call in and tell us what's going on? And my poor guy next to me, my partner, he's going, no. And I'm going, yes. And so that's one of the things I did when I was there. But the reason I'm sharing that is I have always had a show called VIP, Voices of Indigenous People. And the Disability Channel, with whom Doug and I are associated, the founder and I will be doing 5 shows a week. And of course, I have to always reserve 1 show a week for Voices of Indigenous People. So we'll have you back. And when you were talking about that group, that alumni group of Indigenous players, they'd be amazing to interview there and here, So anybody that you would like to promote, just encourage them to come on, because having an interview is a very good confidence builder as well. Yeah. And a good experience to have that, so that when they're in the professional arena and somebody shoves a mic in their face, they know how to talk.
Yeah. So
they don't learn how to do that after, guys.
Well, it's more than knowing how to talk. It's knowing how not to let it go to your head.
Yeah.
It's like, right. All of a sudden you think you're famous and you think you mean something more than you actually do there. Like,
well, my story, Dougie, I was coaching in the island and we had this one guy. He was a good player. He was like at best a 4, 4 defenseman and usually a 5 or 6. And he got a raise, like a huge raise. And the next year, like you said, he just because he made more money, thought he made him a better player. And he thought he should be playing, top 2 and top 4. And I was going, why? He goes, well, I'm making, 5.5 now. And I'm going, you're not just different than the guy who was making 1.5. You're the same guy. He goes, well, I should get more ice time because I made it. No. And we'd have these arguments because he thought that he was now a better player and a smarter guy because he was making, and I was like, life don't work that way, bud. I mean, just because you're getting more, it doesn't make you any better. So, we literally have arguments. You want ice time? I'd say, you're not getting it.
Yeah,
that takes more. That takes more players down, I would say, than any other disease that exists in professional sports. At least in the hockey that I experienced, that's the pinpoint right there. I think.
Yeah, I think it goes to the fact that he's making more, so he feels he has to do more. And I said, no, you don't. You do better. Not do more, just do what you do better. And then, you might get more ice time, but they just think that, okay, now I'm making this, I should be on the power play. And I said, no.
Well, see, the problem with that is, and this goes right back to our, John, I started with 10 workshops and I've created over 1,000 now that actually just support people in that self-worth arena. But you see, when your value is all tied up in what you have, and then what you have goes away, then what happens?
I know.
Right?
It's funny when you talk of that. I got the best quote I ever heard, and it's been used more often now. And I was reading of all things. It was a Sports Illustrated story on retired athletes living in Atlanta. and how they were just there. They weren't doing anything, and they'd meet every other day at this bar for lunch, like we used to do after practice. We'd go for a bar, have a
Yeah.
couple beers and lunch. These guys would do that. That's all they had in their lives. And Charles
Wow.
Barkley walked by one day, and the reporter was there, and he goes, "Well, why? Like, what's different between you as a basketball player and this guy who was as good as you were?" He goes, "At one point in time, you got to figure it out. You got to do something that's bigger than you." And as athletes, we've never had to feel that way. We
That's
always
true.
felt that we were the story. And you had to think that way, because to be good at anything, you have to think that sometimes you're better than you actually are. Like I tell my kids, I'm going to a game. I played with Guy Lafleur and Marilyn Mew and Steve Eisman. I would go into a game thinking that I was the best player in the team, because that's the mindset you have to have. I look back now thinking what an idiot I was, but it's the same thing. Higher, how do you change that to society where, okay, now I've got to think within that bigger group, and some guys can do it and some guys can't. And some guys
Yeah. If you didn't do it, you'd get taken out, right? Because there
exactly.
was always somebody like trying to intimidate you. I always tell people I was paid to knock people down, intimidate them, and take what they have.
Yeah.
And if I did that really well, I got a pat in the back.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's amazing.
I've lived by that Charles Barkley thing. Do something that's bigger than you. And so,
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'd already thought about that, but it just crystallized, encapsulated exactly what I wanted to do. And so I think that, today's player has more information. They make more money, but a lot of them do understand that there is a platform they can use, and not as the Republicans told whoever it was, LeBron, a couple of years ago, just shoot the ball. I mean, it's beyond that now. I mean, you
Yeah.
have a voice, and your platform, you can be heard. And the first people always get slapped down to stick to what you know best. But you know what? If you have an opinion and it's within the context, I don't see why you can't express that opinion, whether I agree with it or not. That's an
It,
opinion out there. So,
it's true that they still try to scare and intimidate. Like
oh
the,
yeah,
the colored tape when it came out, and then they said that they couldn't be used. That was insane, right? As soon as I saw it, I went, "What are you doing, saying no to that?" Right?
I know. And
Did you
then,
hear about that, Lori?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Well, I've had it said to me. Actually, you know who has said it, and I know she doesn't mind if I mention her name, but I have a team member who's been with me since 2015, Lisa Horn. And the first time she came to my retreat center to do a workshop just for her own personal work, she came up to me and she said, "Wow, you realize that this is way bigger than you?" So I'm connecting, John, with what you're talking about.
yeah,
And I kind of looked at her and I thought, well, who is she to say something like that? She's just been here for a couple hours, but she's very smart. But she came up to me and she said, "What, this self-worth thing? This is way bigger than you." So we do have people along who put us in our place, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but anyway, John, our time is running out, and I just hate that because I could talk to you for days, and I hope that we'll have more conversations because there's probably some things we can do to help each other for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And Doug always has the good questions to ask. So over to you, John, our guest today, John Chabot. Chabot. I have a friend in Antigonish. You just made me think of him, but his first name is Chabot, and he played hockey too. So I've got to get a hold of him.
It's always
Anyway,
Chabot.
It's always
so
what?
It's
yeah,
Chabot. Half my family goes by Chabot because we lived in
okay,
times, and half of them go by Shabbat because we've moved to Canada.
yeah, okay,
We're
yeah.
hoping-
Because my buddy, that's his nickname. His first
Yeah.
nickname is Chabot. So, John, over to you. Just in closing, anything you'd like to share with our viewers? Anything at all about your work in the world? And congratulations for taking
Where
your
do you want it
career.
to go? Yeah,
Yeah,
where do you want the trajectory to go? What's the dream project that you have in your mind and that you can be helped with?
Well, I think my son said it best again. We want to be non-existent at one point in time. We want to
right,
the point where our Indigenous people are able to survive on their own, understanding that we can marry our past culture with our new future, and
Hmm.
that would make us redundant. And that's if we could ever get to that point where first assist isn't needed anymore, then the whole country will be better because of it. So, the work we do is awesome. Like I love going to the north. I think the communities are beyond anything you'll ever experience anywhere else. You fly into these communities and it's absolutely amazing. The people are fantastic. There is definite need to help at this point in time to move forward. Our youth up there are absolutely amazing. Light in their eyes. They see a life that they can participate. We're going to try and facilitate that. So, we enjoy the work. You have to enjoy it. I'm 62 now. When most people are retiring, I have no intention of doing that anytime in the future. So I enjoy what I do. But if you want, first, like Dougie said, it's a website. There's a donation page there. We much appreciate the donations. We are doing the work, and we're continuing to do the work. And we're never going to be big. We're going to be in 8 to 10 communities a year at most, because we want to be able to handle the quality of what we're doing. We're not about.
I agree with that.
Going to 1,000 communities or 500 communities. We're about going to the communities that we can deal with the right people that want to do the good work. And to be too big, we just lose focus. So we'll never be that big, but we're going to do the good work.
So firstassist.ca, firstassist.ca, go there. Check out John's website. Check out the First Assist website, the team that he's working with, the players that are going north. And if you want to have something like this in your community, you don't have to go north to have this in your community. If you want to have something like this in your community, then jump in and then let us know. Talk to us. Call us. Look forward to it.
Thanks, Dougie, for sure.
Thank you, John, so much for your time, taking time from your busy schedule. And this has just been such a delight. And then my brain is just, overload here. And by the way, boys, get some time in. July coming up, I'll be 75 and I have no intentions of retiring. So just saying.
Yeah. Well,
thank you, John.
Said nobody should ever retire. Just find something to do and just keep doing it.
Help other people. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot, Johnny.
Thank you.
Really great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have it. What a great guy. What a great project. And I love the way he thinks. He thinks a lot like I do. So
yeah, a builder and, quality. Doing something bigger. I mean, that's the message, right? Is
quality
is out. Everybody needs to do something bigger than themselves, because there's no growth in comfort. If you find yourself comfortable sitting in the shower, sitting in the sun, you're not growing.
No, you're rotting. You're rotting.
You're
going to get burnt or mildew.
Yeah, there's no inertia. You're either building it or you're making it shrink. There is no inertia, right? So, and John speaks to that strongly. He says, do something bigger than yourself, and you'll never be falling backwards. You'll always be growing. Mm-hmm. So,
absolutely.
It was just so wonderful to be able to have played against John all those years and never played with him, but then come together after on the Ottawa Senators Alumni Association. And, just to be able to do this today and have this conversation and advance the movement it's such an honor. It's so fantastic.
Absolutely. And next week, we're going across the pond here to London, England. We're going to have a special guest, Mr. Paul Harrison from London, and he's going to talk to us about his amazing career and the work in the world that he's done using his coaching skills, both in football and in soccer, and how he has impacted thousands of lives just from his quality of work.
Wow. Can't wait to hear that. Soccer's just so big. We all think that hockey's a big sport, but oh my God, soccer, like all these other sports, like because we live in Canada, we think it's number one, but boy, soccer's just so huge. And every kid I think should be playing it. I would recommend every parent get their kid into soccer because it's not expensive. It teaches you a different asset than hockey. So, my parents put me into everything, right?
Yeah, and the disciplines are there. You still have to show up for your game on time. You still have to wear your uniform. You still have to, the discipline goes with it is what is meant. And I heard John comment on that. Mm-hmm. Getting the kids to school on time, getting them to take responsibility. These are all things that they're accomplishing using the sport to help accomplish.
Yes, looking forward to that, right? It's and looking forward to something that's not bad for you. You're looking forward to something that's
actually good
for you on many levels, right? So absolutely incredible. Absolutely
Yeah.
incredible.
Wonderful. Well, I was sharing with my client yesterday as I was driving her home after having been here for 30 days. And I said, right now you're just crossing addictions. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, well, you're giving up the addictions that don't support you, and you're going to take on some addictions that support you. And success is very addictive.
I
And
love it.
the more you have a little taste of it, then you want more, kind of like a drug.
Yeah, whether
This
whether
one,
it's in hockey or
yeah,
whether it's in making your room, like
that's
cleaning up
right.
your room,
That's
right?
right. Yeah, that it's going to support you.
Hmm.
So it's a good addiction when it supports you.
Ah, fantastic. I can't wait to see what happens, the fallout from that long and enduring case, right? That John is looking at, and that should come to fruition, in the government with respect to
Yeah.
the funding.
Hmm.
It's that'll be fascinating to watch that story. Like our
Oh,
guests should be
yes.
watching
Yeah,
that story as well, right?
for sure. For sure. All right. Well, Doug, our time is pretty much up. So I just want to thank you for having me, and for John, and introducing us to John. And what an amazing guest.
Well,
Um,
look forward to bringing it together next week, and very much looking forward to you presenting next week in the pre-show where we're going, where everything's going with the 5 shows with the Disability Channel. We want to
mhm.
share some more detail with people so they can pick and choose.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd
we're
be great.
starting up May 6th. So we've
Okay.
got some time. Yes, for sure. All right. Well, keep your stick on the ice, guys and gals. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye for now.
That was awesome.
Yes.